The winning brands in our category are ones that have really strong emotional connections with the consumer and really strong functional connections.
Today, I'm speaking with Barry Westrum, former CMO of Taco John's, a popular American fast food restaurant chain that specializes in Mexican-inspired cuisine.
Our industry is changing every day. The consumer changes every day. Technology changes every day. You have to be a lifelong learner in order to succeed.
AI is a massive trend in marketing. How is it impacting what you do?
Having AI recognize what the consumer is looking for, how they want to customize their order, that actually makes for a better experience for the consumer. And in order to make the brand relevant for the way consumers use quick serve today, one of the things we did was
Barry Westrum, thank you so much for joining us on Top CMO.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. Well, we're looking forward to jumping into it. Maybe we could start with a little bit of taco talk. I'm looking forward to it. Here's something crazy I read here the other day on the internet. What do you think, Barry, is the number 2 taco consuming country in the world after Mexico?
United States.
I would have thought so too. It turns out Norway is the number 2 per capita largest consumer of tacos in the world.
I'm part Norwegian, so that might explain something.
There you go. So yeah, maybe it's taco. You should open a Taco John's there in Bergen or something.
We are Taco John's International, so that's good to know. Maybe that's our next destination.
It turns out they chalk it up to apparently instead of Taco Tuesdays in Norway, it's Taco Fridays, and the Friday taco is a tradition adopted, I guess, by most of the country. I thought that was fascinating.
Well, make sure they trademark it. Let's put it that way.
That's right. Well, tell us a little bit about for those who might not be familiar. Tell us a little bit about Taco John's and tell us a bit about the brand.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we are a wonderful 55-year-old kind of staple of the upper Midwest here in the United States, founded by 2 lovely gentlemen in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They saw this opportunity for tacos kind of democratized across America. They had a development strategy that was very simple for the time. They would fly around the upper Midwest and in their own plane, and then drop down in these wonderful small and medium-sized town, and then walk in and sell franchises. And some of our franchisees today were born of that wonderful moment. And so we've been in the upper Midwest for, like I said, over 55 years. We have over 400 units. We're based in Cheyenne for decades, ever since our founding in 1969. In the last few years, there's been a big push for greater expansion in the United States. One of the first moves was opening a restaurant support center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where I'm speaking to you from today, because the majority of our stores, or highest propensity of stores, are in the state of Minnesota, 37 locations. And so we moved all of our operating functions here to Minneapolis, operations, finance, marketing, training, IT, et cetera. And to use Minneapolis as a springboard for not only developing in our existing 22 states, but also to expand further east. So we've opened in the last 3 years in Boston, Massachusetts, Nashville, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and really are just looking to expand the brand and continue our fundamental positioning around being a higher quality Taco Bell and a cheaper, faster Chipotle. And that's our brand positioning, and that's our model for success. And we're excited to be on this journey and having the success that we've had recently.
Now, I'd love to dive a little deeper into that, Barry. You know tacos. You formerly were a CMO for Del Taco. You were, I believe, also a director of brand marketing at Taco Bell. You understand this business. I am curious, what is it about Taco John's that's different from those brands?
Yeah. The consumers are, especially younger consumers, are eating more Latin-inspired food now than ever. And but they're looking for a better alternative. They're looking for higher quality. They're looking for items made fresh to order. They're looking for fresh pico de gallo. They're looking for hand-cut sirloin steak. They're looking for shells fried in restaurant every day. These things that make our brand stand out. And so that is our tagline: bigger, bolder, better. The ERs there are purposeful. It's intended to be competitive and to make people think twice about their quick serve experience. Odds are you may have to drive by a Taco Bell and a McDonald's in order to get to our restaurant. And so, we need to be loud, proud, and boastful about what we do differently than Taco Bell. And that is the product quality. And so that's our leverage point. And that's what we're doing every day in order to differentiate our brand and make us more relevant.
Now, I've always thought that QSR marketing was a lot of fun, right? Like it's almost purely a good time, as compared to maybe some more stodgy industries. I think it leaves you a lot of room for creativity and a lot of room for levity. And I'm curious, you've had a long and storied career in the QSR space. I'd love to get into a little bit of what your journey has been to this point, one, and two, the kind of lessons learned along the way, and some of your favorite campaigns. And am I right that you got did you get your start at Yum Brands, or you came? Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. I started my career in advertising. I worked for advertising agencies in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Denver. But I got the sense that there was a lot of fun being had on the other side with a broader impact on the business other than just the communications, although I still have a ton of passion for the communication side of the business. And I came over, my first client side opportunity was with Taco Bell. I was with, I worked on a host of different marketing functions there: brand communications, field marketing, brand marketing, product marketing, advertising. And it just really provided this wonderful foundation for my career. I went from there, at Yum, all roads lead through Louisville, Kentucky. So I had the opportunity to be CMO of Long John Silver's and A&W, those brands that we housed there in Louisville, and then KFC. And so it's just the ability to work on these wonderful American icon brands has just been a exciting part of my career. And then to be able to expand out of Yum and go to work for International Dairy Queen, Del Taco, as you mentioned, and now Taco John's has just been very exciting. And to your point, the category, I don't know if I'll ever not work in this category, because I find it to be, as you said, very exciting. Every day it changes, right? This is a low involvement decision. The consumer drives down the street and at 11:45 a.m. and whether they make the left into our location or the right into a McDonald's is driven by, a host of emotional and functional associations that they have with the brand. And so that's kind of been my key learning throughout my career, has been, the winning brands in our category are ones that have really strong emotional connections with the consumer and really strong functional connections. And that's how I've kind of built my career, is at each brand, making sure that those two prongs are really, really well thought out, really, really well executed. And that is what is the playbook essentially for long-term success for these brands.
Can you give me an example of kind of the emotional and the functional connection coming together for one of the brands you've worked with?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. I think probably my favorite story there is International Dairy Queen, right? So Dairy Queen in the United States, this wonderful, almost 80-year-old brand. At the time I got there, around 3,000 locations. Consumers' associations with the brand are incredibly positive and very, very emotional, right? It was my first job. I met my wife, and that was our first date. my grandfather always used to take me. All these wonderful moments, but they were all based in the past. And so, one, we wanted to capture that emotion in a phrase that we felt like consumers can immediately identify with. And our wonderful partners at Barkley, an ad agency out of Kansas City, even during the pitch, came up with the tagline, "We make fan food, not fast food." And the beauty of that tagline was capturing this notion, and it's very true even to this day, that consumers of the brand Dairy Queen don't consider themselves customers; they consider themselves fans. And as a marketer, and really anybody in the company, I mean, you treat fans differently than you treat customers. And so it became a mantra for the brand around, is everything we're doing for our fans, is it fan worthy? Are the products fan worthy? Is our service model fan worthy? Would a fan say they loved it? And so that fan food, not fast food, really crystallized the emotional connection that we created with the brand. And then in order to make the brand relevant for the way consumers use quick serve today, one of the things we did was value is paramount in the quick serve industry. It's one of the major reasons that consumers choose to go to a fast food restaurant, is because it fits their pocketbook on that given day. And Dairy Queen, as a premium brand, didn't necessarily have a value expression on their menu. And so we developed a product called $5 Lunch, very similar. It was one of our wonderful burgers or chicken strips, fries, drink. And of course, a Dairy Queen experience is not a Dairy Queen experience without soft serve, right? And so we added a Dairy Queen sundae, put it at a wonderful $5 price point. We only offered it at lunch because lunch was the big opportunity. We actually have because of the soft serve, we have a wonderful evening business and late night business, but lunch was the big opportunity. And suddenly we became very relevant for lunch tomorrow. And so we saw a significant increase in our brand frequency, just from launching that initiative. And it was a center point. And frankly, it still is today. The price point has changed, but that meal configuration with the sundae at an aggressive price point is part of the reason why we were able to grow the brand from a $3 billion brand to a $4 billion brand during my tenure there. So good example, I think, of kind of, connecting emotionally, but being functionally relevant as well.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's a function that a lot of quick serve restaurants are having an increasingly hard time making good on, right? I think we've even heard recently McDonald's communicating that, like, they know prices are too high. They're looking into what they can do about it. In an inflationary environment where you maybe have customers experiencing sticker shock, how do you think about that as a brand, and what do you do in order to set those concerns at ease?
Yeah, great point. I think especially now in these days of the value wars in quick service, you have to, same framework, right? You have to be relevant functionally, but you also have to be relevant emotionally. Brands that are strong brands that have really developed emotional relationships with their consumers are the ones that are winning today. I think I just saw today Wingstop reported, and I'm not going to have the number quite right, but they were up a crazy number, up 28%, I believe, in the most recent quarter. Chipotle has continued to excel in there, and so these are brands that are connecting with the consumer emotionally as well as in social, and that's some of the work that we're doing with our consumers here at Taco John's, is really building our scope with influencers, building our scope with given our footprint, micro influencers, building our scope on TikTok, being much more frequent in terms of our content creation, having much more personality and emotion in our work, so that it's not just the love of the product, it's the love of the brand as well. And that's the model that is working for us, and that's the model that's working for successful brands in the category today.
I'm curious, Barry. You brought up Chipotle. and they've kind of had recently some negative publicity and a little bit of an online trend around shrinkflation at their brand, and sort of having these like underfilled burritos, and you've had customers coming through and taking pictures of product as as it's being loaded up, and taking pictures of skimpy burritos. If you were brought in, let's say tomorrow you find yourself in a position where you're being asked to go and advise Chipotle, what would you tell them for how to deal with these kinds? Because I think this is something, it's not unique to it's not unique to food service. These moments where the internet turns against you, and then what do you do? How do you think about that?
Yeah, we talk a lot about that as well. In an inflationary environment, cost control has played a big role. I think everybody's facing with it. The thing we do that I think is just critical and is kind of a key component in my playbook is the notion of process and discipline and test marketing. And so anytime we do explore a slightly different ingredient, and anytime we do explore a change in packaging or what have you, a change in an operational procedure, we thoroughly test it. We will test it in a wide swath of our restaurants over an extended period of time to make sure that, it works for our consumer, it works for our crew members, and it works, and then it works across our operational platform. And if it doesn't achieve all of those three objectives, we won't move forward with it. And so I can't comment on what may or may not have happened at Chipotle. My suspicion is in a means to tighten costs, they might have done some things and consumers noticed it. And those are the things we try to head off at the pass through extensive marketing, extensive test marketing before we bring those things forward. And I think that's how we've avoided some of those pratfalls in the past.
Yeah, that's very smart. I mean, and that's an insight I think that's applicable, beyond your industry. We hear that even with SaaS marketers will talk about A/B testing with small cohorts of users before they're doing full rollouts. I mean, in as much as to whatever extent you can do it as a marketer, it seems important that you're doing that. And I think underscores the importance of integrating marketing with operations, because you can see a world in which a company silos those functions. Operations goes and does something, and marketing is left trying to catch up and do damage control.
We're surprised all the time. I mean, we have reams and reams of data and very, very smart people and great influence from our franchisees. But the beauty of this category is that we're surprised all the time about little things matter to the consumer. And, there are times where we'll do a little thing and our consumers will love it and comment on it on social media and tell other followers, and they come into our restaurants and they see it. There are times we'll test things that we think are the best idea. We have reams of data that suggest that it's the best idea, and then it doesn't resonate with the consumer. But you only learn that through the test marketing process, and that's an important part of what we do here.
One thing that's been interesting, speaking of test marketing, one thing that's been interesting for me to watch as an outsider to this industry is the breakfast wars, and seeing McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell jumping into the breakfast day part. What is Taco John's doing, if anything, in that battle for breakfast supremacy? And what's your kind of take on the landscape?
Yeah, that's great. No, I've done a lot of work on breakfast in my career, and the thing that is just incredibly unique about the breakfast day part relative to any other day part is the routine, the nature of your morning routine. Back when we used to be in the office every day, you always park in the same spot. You have this vast parking lot where you can park your car, but we all naturally park our car in that exact same spot because of routine. And so if you're going to get into the breakfast business, you have to be able to snap the consumer out of their routine. And so, that's a big part of what we have done here at Taco John's, is just come up with a vastly better product line. Like, our expertise is in breakfast burritos. Breakfast burritos are hearty, filling. You get, especially for a lower income or blue collar workforce, a hearty meal that's going to get you through the entire day. A lot of research says that for some folks, this is their only meal of the day, not just the first, most important meal of the day. And so that has been basically our claim to fame. We got into the breakfast business before Wendy's and Taco Bell, and to this day, we have higher mix than both of those brands on breakfast because we just do breakfast burritos and we do them really, really well. And that's being really, really good at one thing is for us has proved to be very successful from a breakfast perspective.
I love that. I wish we had. I'm here in San Antonio. You would think in San Antonio that breakfast burritos would be abundant, but really, tacos are the preferred platform here. It's hard to find a good breakfast burrito in San Antonio. Tell me a little bit about. I'm curious if there's any kind of challenges coming in as a CMO at Taco John's that you're facing. Any problems you're thinking through right now? Any difficulties that the brand is facing from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're to a certain extent, everybody in the category is wrestling with the same challenge in terms of hyperinflation and the low income consumer. And so, it's really put a pressure on sales. It's put a pressure on making sure that you're innovating and making sure that you're continuing to drive value. One of the things that we've done that I think has been really successful is, as I spoke to earlier, our brand positioning is all about being a higher quality alternative to some of the other folks in the category. And we did so even in the creation of our value menu. As a brand, we really had not played deeply in the value space over the decades. And one of the first things I did when I came in was acknowledging that, roughly 30% of the consumers in the category make their decisions every day based on how much money they have in their pocket. And we just weren't relevant from a value perspective. And so we developed a new value menu here, but it was based on that same premise around a higher quality alternative. So our value menu, many other value menus in Mexican are typically rice and beans, maybe some ground beef, and then wrapped up in a whatever your carrier is. We have hand-cut sirloin steak on our value menu. We had all white meat chicken, all white meat fried chicken on our value menu. Homemade pico de gallo or house fresh pico de gallo on our value menu, and still highly competitive price points at $2, $3, and $4. And so, developing a value menu that is still very aligned with the overall brand positioning has been critical for us, and we've been leaning on that a lot in order to be successful. And that's by all accounts, it's going to be a challenge for the category for at least the next year to 18 months as the low-income consumer wrestles through the inflation challenge.
One thing I remember reading in the Wall Street Journal recently was about the impacts that semaglutides are having on, in particular, beer and snack categories. And drugs like Ozempic being adopted widely or reducing cravings, and with that, the market share of some of these brands, or at least that's the perception of shareholders, whether or not that's the truth. I'm curious if you followed that and if you feel as though that produces any headwinds for your category.
We've been following that trend for some time, and we've got a host of different sources where we get a sense for what's on our consumer mind and what's influencing their decisions. And we haven't seen that just yet, to be quite honest. What we have seen is the biggest influence right now is just the pressure on inflation. It is that cost thing. One of the things, that we do very frequently is, we're constantly putting new ideas in front of the consumer about the products they want to eat and the products they're looking for. What's their definition of health and health management? And really what we're seeing is it's all about freshness. They want fresh ingredients. They want, freshly made pico de gallo, and so we're looking at more and more ways to bring, fresh fajita vegetables, products like that to our consumer, because that is what they want more from quick serve restaurants in this country, is freshness. And that's something we're able to deliver the way our brand is built, the way our menu is built, the way our operating platform is built. And that's what we're focused on today.
How closely do you work with product development? It sounds like I kind of hearing over and over again in the way you're talking, almost a luxury I think a lot of marketers in other categories would like to have, which is that it sounds as though you really have a seat at the table in product development and building out the menu. What's that look like?
Yeah, that's something that throughout my career has been very, very important to me. I will, certainly suggest, if not demand, that culinary reports to me. And so I've been very fortunate in my career to work with some wonderful, head chefs at these brands that are just wizards from an innovation perspective in terms of being able to capitalize on the flavors and the trends that are relevant with the consumer today, make it work within our operating platform, and really create some wonderful products. I think I mentioned fried chicken earlier, but a few years ago when the fried chicken sandwich craze was on, nobody in Mexican was doing fried chicken tacos, except perhaps some chains in San Antonio, right? But the ability to create a fried chicken taco that has some wonderful sauce alternatives. We have a wonderful jalapeno ranch and a chipotle lime sauce that are just terrific. They both play really well on the fried chicken. We were able to, fast-paced category, right? So I think we conceived the idea in January, tested in February, and we launched in June, and that beat everybody else to market. And part of one of the reasons why we had that was 2021. We had really strong transaction growth that year, which has been really tough to come by in the category. And I think it's because of the culinary invention and innovation spirit that we have here at Taco John's, and brands that are winning today are competing in that innovation space as well.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, Barry, and if this is too controversial, you don't have to answer it.
Okay, I'm ready.
In your opinion, who makes the best fried chicken sandwich in fast food?
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Well, I'm partial to fried chicken tacos, obviously. But
we've already established that Taco John's fried chicken tacos are number one, and now it's just all the sandwiches competing for number two.
I do give Popeyes credit for what they did with that fried chicken sandwich. I think the Chick-fil-A sandwich is very good, but what Popeyes did in terms of bringing more layers of flavor, there's a simplicity to the Chick-fil-A sandwich that's terrific, but I think the layers of flavor and the detail within the bun and the toppings have made that product really, really examine. And frankly, was part of the inspiration for what we wanted to create was a consumers love Mexican food because of the combination and contrast of taste, textures, smells, colors that's very unique to Mexican outside, the sandwiches and, burgers and, sandwiches and buns. And so that inspiration was kind of part of the reason why we created the fried chicken taco, was because we wanted to create that same kind of multi-taste and textural experience in a way that really resonated with the consumer. And I think we were successful there. It was a good inspiration for us.
And a good reminder of the importance of paying attention to trends and looking at ways in which you can capitalize on them in your own way. You didn't just do a kind of Me Too, we're going to put a chicken sandwich on the menu. You said, how can we put this, make this make sense within our broader brand? That's fantastic.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
How do you think about if you were going to sort of make an assessment of I'll back up. There are some industries in which a trend like AI, it's like obvious how it's impacting the space. But we've been asking marketers as we've been, on the show over the last several episodes, AI is a massive trend in marketing. How is it impacting what you do, if at all?
Yeah. I mean, it's it's definitely something we're capitalizing on in a couple of different ways. One is, and some of the brands in the category are doing it, but using AI to help expedite the ordering process at the drive-through, right? And so having AI recognize what the consumer is looking for, how they want to customize their order, suggestions on how to enhance their order, and do so in a way that actually improves the speed of the order. That actually makes for a better experience for the consumer, greater order accuracy, ensuring that their order is rounded out with whether it's an additional topping, sour cream and tomatoes, whether it's ensuring they get our wonderful potato allays, or ensuring that they get a drink or what have you. We've made significant progress on, and we're going to be rolling out that out to more restaurants here before the end of the year. And then, something near and dear to the marketer's heart, obviously, is creative, right? The ability to, on a daily basis, be able to respond to what's going on in pulp culture, particularly for social media perspective, and then the ability with just a voice command, be able to build, whether it be content for TikTok or Meta or or Pinterest or what have you, or Instagram, be able to create content that is within brand standards, has all of our wonderful product photography. It's within our brand voice and can be created in seconds with a verbal command. And it's also available for whatever format. There's so many different formats that our communications are available today, whether it's long form, short form, horizontal, vertical, banner, whatever that might be. The fact that it can be created in minutes as opposed to hours allows us to be right on top of cultural trends. And if there's a meme that is trending on social, our ability to build creative based on that within minutes has had a huge effect in our cultural relevancy, and something that we want to continue to capitalize on going forward.
So is Taco John's Brat the big trend of the moment? There's a singer in the UK who launched a new album called Brat, and she said Kamala Harris is Brat, and now there's this whole meme that's unfolding where everyone's taking the lime green of the album and applying it to their photos. And anyway, you talk about capturing the moment. I'm curious, is there a particular tool you're using for this kind of AI optimization and rolling out of content really quickly? Is there a tool you're looking to that you'd recommend to the audience?
Great question. I must admit, I do not know the brand name of what we're using. I hear about it all the time from our team, and I know it's very powerful, but I don't know the brand name there.
All good. We'll chat it out after the show. Maybe throw a link in the comments. It sounds fantastic. That's excellent. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on that I thought was fascinating that you were saying, and I kind of don't want to gloss over it because I think it's so the implications are so big. You said in your testing with AI order taking that the customer experience is better, that the accuracy is higher, and that there are more upsells. That's wild. That's borne out in the data and is now something you're rolling out more broadly.
Yeah, part of the reason why the experience is better is rather than our crew people having to be kind of multifaceted around, making sure we have this really good interaction with the consumer, making sure that we're getting all of their the specifics of their order right and such. We can let technology do that for us and allow our crew members to be focused on the food, right? Which is what, that's why the consumer is coming there. We want them to be able to focus on, let's get the build right. Let's make sure all the ingredients are there. We're using the freshest ingredients. And that's really what that allows for, is the focus from an operational perspective on the food, while we use technology to just get every aspect of the order right. And it's kind of like that division of labor is part of the reason why it creates such a better consumer experience.
Yeah, that's really smart, and I'm sure is going to become increasingly common. I've already seen. I went into a restaurant. Cheesesteak Charlie's recently, actually, and I went to place an order at the counter, and they pointed to the kiosk, and it was a nice, seamless experience. It was sort of easy and quick. I'm curious if you think as sort of interactions through AI for ordering become more common, if you think that there's going to be some concepts that decide to go the other way and invest very heavily in the human interaction. For example, I look at a brand like In-N-Out, where like interactions with really pleasant, kind of old-timey dressed employees is like part of the experience. Do you think that we sort of see like some brands that are making a conscious decision to sort of be Luddites in the industry while others are embracing the efficiencies of tech?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. One of the things that we've seen, and again, because we're actually taking that order-taking responsibility off the crew member's plate, have them focus on the food, they can be more friendly at the drive-through window, right? Whether they're taking a coupon or whether they're scanning the consumer's app in order to make sure they earn their points. And so the what we've actually seen is actually an uptick in friendliness. And being an Upper Midwest brand, we've always been strong in friendliness. Because it kind of relieves the some of the pressures on speed from the crew member. It allows them to really make sure they're having the connection with the guest at the window. So I don't know if it's an either or thing. I think it can be both. That's certainly what we've seen, and I think that that's going to be the way it plays out as we move forward.
That's a good point. I mean, I had the experience. We talked about Popeyes earlier. Not to put Popeyes on blast, but I don't know if I've ever had a good customer service experience in a Popeyes. And being in the drive-thru and sort of having someone like handing me my food while like yelling through the headset, at someone whose order they're taking simultaneously, you get a sense that like that is a stressful job. Like that's a job that when there's a lot going on, they're having to hand food to someone, they're having to take an order, and relieving really half the job from them lets them do the other half really, really well. So I think that's a fantastic point. That makes a lot of sense to me.
One of the things, it's one of our moments of truth, right? Is when the consumer leaves our driveway, right? Did they have a good experience? One of the things we did at Dairy Queen that we had a lot of fun with is, if you recall back in the day, you can flip a Dairy Queen Blizzard upside down, and if it's made properly, wonderful thick soft serve with all the ingredients thoroughly mixed in, you can flip it upside down without any mess or bother. And but over the years, and with the focus on speed and challenges from a service perspective, we stopped doing it. And one of the things I did when I was at Dairy Queen was bring back the flipped Blizzard. And one of the ways to really make it connect with the consumer was offering our Blizzards upside down or free with the consumer. So if we didn't flip your Blizzard upside down, you got it free. And like we had done a bunch of research on this, and again, quick serve has a tendency to be a low involvement category. But when consumers got their Blizzard upside down, it told them, three wonderful things about the brand. One, the quality of our product was so good that you could do that without any, mess. Two was, the crew member was well trained and that they could make a Blizzard that could do that. And it was just fun and it was memorable. And, again, this low involvement category to have, you can't do that without you smiling yourself as the one who's holding the Blizzard and the consumer smiling themselves. And again, that little smile was a big part of what the Dairy Queen brand was all about. And so we brought back upside down or free, and we saw, a lift in our transactions because consumers wanted to test us. We saw a lift in hospitality scores. We saw a lift in product quality scores. And it was part of the reason why we had some of the strong same-store sales growth we had. And so that's the fun thing about this category is finding those little moments that resonate with the consumer that could be so meaningful that can just be a bright spot in your day. And brands that do that will continue to win in the marketplace.
I love that. I had a conversation with another CMO recently who was talking about the importance of, surprise and delight in winning the hearts and minds of customers. And I think one of the things that you're driving home here is it doesn't have to cost anything. It doesn't have to be something, an expensive jet. You don't have to be giving away extras. It can really just be something as simple as, turning the blizzard upside down. So that's fantastic.
Well, and one of the other wonderful findings was that because rightfully so, we had a lot of store managers and franchisees who were thinking that they were going to give away the farm or our product, might not have lived up to the quality requirement there. And again, one of the other wonderful things that came out of it was, again, when made properly, it's the product never fails. And so, store managers and crew members and franchisees learn to love the component of the upside down blizzard because it actually reinforced to them that we've got this wonderful product that is, virtually fail-proof. And it reminded them that we do have the best product in the industry. And so it gave them another point of pride with their consumer that just resonated throughout the entire restaurant. So there's just a lot of wonderful things that came from that. And, we look for that in our brand here every day.
That's fantastic. Well, how do you, one question that raises for me that I've thought a lot about is navigating the interests of franchisees versus corporate. Because you have, I think, a lot of times, frequently, strong-willed, folks who are used to getting their way, who are franchisees, and you've got this corporate structure in which you're trying to provide them with value, but you're also placing requirements on them. How do you think about kind of navigating the give and take with franchisees?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent the majority of my career working with franchisees, and these are some of, these wonderful entrepreneurs that this country has created with the entire franchising industry and such. And, the bottom line is, you buy into a franchise because you have a business model that is proven. And, you want to just execute that business model to perfection. And if you do that, profitability is, it's not guaranteed, but you're in a much better place in order to make, a very solid living and, achieve wealth. And so, the thing that I have found is that as long as your brand is winning with the consumer, and as long as your brand is winning financially from a profitability perspective, franchisees are your best friends. That's exactly why they buy into the system. And as long as you make sure that that's the system continues to work, and you do all this work that we've been talking about here today around building this, ensuring that there's a strong emotional connection, strong functional connection. That is the model that I've used to help to grow these wonderful brands. And franchisees see that, and I think they welcome the partnership, and they welcome how it's not just about moving tacos, and as much as it is about connecting with the consumer. They do it at their restaurants every day. We make sure we do that in the products and programs that we create, and that partnership is what makes this industry very fun and dynamic. And so it's a wonderful model that can be very, very successful for both parties.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Barry. Barry, how would you feel about a quick rapid fire round?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to throw a question out. Let's see if we can do a sentence or less.
Okay.
What is the most important trait a CMO needs to have?
I think it's flexibility. They're just the demands on the business today with the everything from digital to traditional advertising and product development, all that stuff. You've got to be able to flex almost hour to hour, minute by minute, especially in a retail environment, and that's critical.
What career advice do you have for aspiring CMOs?
Never stop learning. Our category, well, our industry is changing every day. The consumer changes every day. Technology changes every day. You have to be a lifelong learner in order to succeed.
If you could market any brand other than Taco John's, which would it be?
I'm a huge baseball fan, and I grew up loving the then California Angels, now Los Angeles Angels. So if the Angels are looking for a chief marketing officer, I'd love to be that first candidate.
What is your favorite marketing book?
My favorite marketing book. I have an old boss of mine who wrote Red Marketing, Greg Creed at Taco Bell. Just a fabulous marketer. Learned a ton from him. He's got a framework there that is foolproof and about building compelling and relevant brands today. And I keep it on my desktop for that very reason.
Right on. I'll check it out. Where outside of marketing do you look for inspiration?
I consider myself a little bit of a foodie. I'm not a cook myself, but I love to eat. And so there's a wonderful restaurant scene here in the Twin Cities. And so we, try to frequent as many of the farm to table locations as we can. There's such diversity in the restaurants here. That's and you learn from every culinary experience, things that can help your restaurant. So that's kind of how I use it.
What is your favorite marketing campaign of all time?
Ooh, of all time. I guess I would say Mayhem with Allstate.
Oh, so good. That's what I haven't heard. We get like the 1984 Apple commercial all the time. There's some that you hear over and over again. I have not heard that one. That is a very, very good choice. Yeah. I like that.
Still very relevant today, and I just love that character. And the social campaign that goes along with it, I think reinforces. I don't know. They maybe produce 3 or 4 spots a year, but I feel like the social campaign keeps it fresh every day. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I mean, and especially for a product like insurance, right? Like one of the most mundane categories in all of marketing, yet they found this character that keeps it top of mind.
So good. Do you have a favorite TV show?
The Bear.
The Bear. Okay, I need to check it out. I keep hearing it's amazing. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah, season 2 episode. I think it's 7 called Forks. I won't go further into it. Your listeners will know, but probably some of the best television I've ever seen. And so, and particularly if you're a foodie or into restaurants, it makes it even more compelling. But it's great character development, great story, great script. It's everything it's cracked up to be.
I have to ask. You said you're a foodie. You're referencing this space window. Do you ever see The Menu?
I haven't.
A24 film. Okay. It is I'll give you the setup. It's a horror movie about a chef that is like in a restaurant that looks kind of like Nobu meets, kind of like all an amalgam of all, like a composite sketch of all of like the chef's table restaurants. But the chef decides he's going to murder all his guests that night. And that's the premise of it's fantastic. It's very good. What is your favorite fast food item that is not from Taco John's?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. I hate to reference a competitor, but there was a product I developed at Taco Bell that I was a big fan of, the Cheesy Gordita Crunch, that when I do my competitive shop, that's when I will check out. But it's... yeah, that's a good one.
So we are talking to the father of the Cheesy Gordita Crunch.
Yeah, I had, I wish I could say it was a part of some massive research study and such, but it really was just putting some of the ingredients together on the table and creating some magic. And I think it's off their menu today, but they occasionally bring it back as an LTO, and it's a good one.
Awesome. Anything we didn't discuss that we should have?
No, I think we covered everything. I love talking about the category. I love talking about the brand. I love talking about Taco John's and everything we're doing here. And I appreciate the time.
Barry Westrum, thank you so much for joining us on Top CMO.
Thank you.
This amazing episode was brought to you by Top Thought Leader. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.